Hello, welcome to Ram and Goat Astrology. We're so
Boop,
excited to
boop.
have you. I'm Laura Lee.
And I'm Helena, and
Thanks for
and there's a
joining
third
us.
person here too.
Right,
Third
almost
person
here.
in the belly.
In the belly, almost. We're in the 2 to 3 week mark here with little BB, little Aries
Yeah.
BB. So we're excited. This week I spent organizing and washing the little tiny cloth baby diapers we have and the little tiny clothes, and I was washing all that and putting it away and organizing it and cleaning
So
out the
cute.
diaper bag from Saffron so she can have like a big girl bag, and making the new baby's diaper bag, and it was surreal. I was like, oh, shit's getting real now.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to have him on the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know.
Can't wait to see him because we live so far away. So I won't see him
Right.
in real life. I'll just see him like here on Zoom.
Right. So I'll just keep holding him up.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see his chart and see what shows up. Like, I have an
Yeah.
idea of what the major placements will be, but it's the moon and the rising that really make that big difference in personality.
does.
And that is something you will not know until birth. So
Yeah.
So speaking
That's
of
so
birth,
exciting.
I have a birthday at the time of this recording. I have a birthday tomorrow. Yeah, less than 24 hours. I'm a 9 a.m. baby. So tomorrow is my 41st birthday. So we decided to dive into my solar return chart. And I had not known about solar returns until one of our instructors through our school, Deborah Silverman's Applied Astrology School, Nick, amazing astrologer. If you guys ever want to hook up and get a reading from him, he incorporates human design too. A little shout out to Nick there. But he reached out to me and said, do you want to do a solar return reading? And I was like, do tell. Yes.
Yeah. What's that?
What is that? And the way he explained it was phenomenal. And he was like, this is the style you're gonna rock this year. This is the way you're gonna dress, the way you're gonna show up, the emphasis of the year is what your solar return is. And it's like when the sun comes around back to its original position, you get to like shake hands with the universe and renew your contract. And I was like, I love that description. That makes so much sense in my head. That each time, that cuz that sun comes back into that placement when we emerged from our mother and we got our own programming, we get to have a new, like an updated contract, really. It's like a business contract with the universe. Hey, we get an upgrade.
Yeah, and
or
it
maybe a
was
downgrade for the year, who knows.
some extra challenges. But what's interesting is that, yeah, the sun will always be in the same sign for your solar return chart, but everything else can be different.
Can
Everything.
and will be quite different. So
Yeah.
for those of you watching and joining us in the YouTube land, I'm going to pull up some charts, and for those of you listening, we will do some describing. So I pulled up my solar return from last year. So this is what it looked like when I turned 40, and I have a Capricorn rising, which definitely makes sense. So I want to kind of dive into this a little bit just for a few minutes to explain how this energy showed up for me this particular year and the things that transpired and what, that looked like for me. Now, everybody's is going to look different and show up differently, right? Because we're different people. So I'm normally a Gemini rising, which is not Capricorn. But as you can see, I've been recording several podcasts and buckling down and being consistent and very hardworking. So in general, this Capricorn rising, which I love to view as like almost like the filter of how all the planets go through, right? I've been very hardworking this year. I've published 4 workbooks, a children's book, a conglomerate book where I worked with other women. So I put myself out there very much in this kind of weirdo Aquarian way, which Aquarius is in my first house and Mars is there. Saturn and Venus are on top of each other, almost the exact degree, in Aquarius in my first house this year. So I really,
That's cool.
I was very driven, Mars, to work hard on structure, stability, finances, relationships, which Venus is all about those possessions and values. And I did it in such an Aquarian way, right? Like a little bit here, a little bit over here, mostly through the internet. I'm mostly
Yeah.
hanging out in my studio, which was our former garage and turned my awesome art studio now, recording studio. So I'm doing it in such a technology driven, unique, independent way. I have my own schedule. I attempt to create structure, Saturn and Aquarius, right? I attempt to create structure and schedule, but it's still very flexible. So that's
Mm.
a requirement there. And Saturn was very restrictive of my finances. So Saturn
Mm.
on Venus is, I wouldn't say that's a happy placement. It was really, really a really diligent, disciplined year for me as far as finances and creating ongoing relationships and friendships through the internet, right? I really had to schedule Zooms and I had to really show up for my courses and be present because that was my connection with people this year. Like that's really where my people were. That's how I got my energy across and that's how I brought in income, although it was quite really held back and restricted. So that's how all that showed up for me this year.
Mm.
Uh Pluto was
And
in
you've
my
had
first house
to,
too.
yeah, you've had to also overcome a lot of technology
Yeah.
um, challenges.
Oh my God.
And that's
Learn
very Saturn in Aquarius as well.
learning new systems, learning
Mm.
I basically rebranded and relaunched my business in May. So this solar return was the end of March. And so in May I did that. And I had to learn so many systems that I'd never used before, new accounting systems and new programs for, scheduling. And oh my gosh, it was, my brain doesn't like that. I don't like
I know,
that.
but you did well.
I did.
You did
I did.
well.
I did. And then the moon for me was in Pisces, and I really was deep in some generational healing, some deep healing stuff. I ended up conceiving when we weren't trying, we were actively preventing. And this little bub is a very spiritual being. And you'll see in my solar return for this year that when your moon is in Pisces, there's a strong strong emotional, spiritual connection with people, with specific people. Or there's a strong repulsion
Because
that,
you feel it all.
well, yeah, and those two fish, right? Like one
Yeah.
can go one way, here's my people, here's my fishy friends, right? And the other fish can go the other way and go, I'm not this group is not for me, right? These people are
Mm.
not for me. So I
Mm.
very much felt this like swim towards or swim away. And it did affect me emotionally, not in a bad way. For me, it really, I want to say, helped me lean into the deep healing I needed to do through
Yeah.
the generational traumas. I ended up both of my grandmothers passed away, and it was cathartic, which
Mm.
is an interesting word I don't use often, but it was very cathartic and healing to have that next that generation move on, right? And kind of do some letting go and some healing of that realm, that genre.
Mm.
So I was doing a lot of that this year. I put out a course called "Put the Past in the Past: Healing Ancestral Trauma." like I created a course on that, and that's where my moon was in Pisces this year, which makes so much sense.
Oh, and that's
Jupiter,
interesting that it was in the second house then,
yep, yep.
which is a house of finances also, and
Finances and
possessions.
and creating a foundation, right? That foundational stability and what we value. So
Mm.
that moon there was, it was really important to me that I really work on that this year. And this little bub that showed up whether I wanted it to or not was was part of that. There was a lot of healing around letting go and letting spirit take the wheel, right?
Mm.
There's a country song by Carrie Underwood. That's the girl is driving and she hits some icy patch and her car starts to spin and she takes her hands off and the song's Jesus Take the Wheel. And I'm like, oh, I feel that, right? Like,
Mm.
okay, spirit, I surrender. What do you need from me? And it needed me to lean into this Pisces energy. Jupiter was there this year. Neptune was there this year. Big expansiveness in the woo-woo realm.
Mm,
And
yeah.
lady, if I haven't done that, I don't know what I've done.
No, that's incredible because, yeah, you had Neptune conjunct Jupiter in
Yeah.
the sign of Pisces. So Neptune is that connection to the spiritual world planet, and Jupiter enhances everything and makes it
Yeah.
bigger. And then Pisces is the sign for all of these connections as well. And
Right.
because you were so involved with, I know your one of your grandmas who passed away, and you were very involved in
Yep.
something really huge that shifted during that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and that was very driven by spirit that,
Mm,
these intuitive messages I started to really get clarity around. I thought I was, had multiple personality disorder for many, many years, but now I've recognized, oh, that's legit messages coming from spirit that I'm supposed to, listen to or not. There's quite a few that are I just let those go, right? I have like an old grumpy man. I actually call him Saturn. I have an old grumpy man in my head that likes to just chime up and make stupid comments. He's kind of funny. But spirit is definitely something that's really tuned in for me this year. And I've learned about the Akashic records. I'd never, ever explored that at all before. Never even really heard about it. I've been diving deep into quantum healing, quantum hypnosis healing technique, which is really going deep into your past lives through really, really deep meditation. I've been learning about that, and I'm looking to become a practitioner for that. So, like, that door to the woo woo has opened up for me. And I find it interesting because it's in the second house of money.
mm,
And while it's brought some income this year, you would think Jupiter there would be like, whoa, I'll have lots of it. I think what it brought is because it's in the house of Taurus, the house, second
mm,
house. I think Jupiter has expanded that slow and steady wins the race energy, right? It's expanded this be patient and keep working in that. And then the money will show up, the finances will get stronger, and they are getting much more stabilized, which is phenomenal. But I was thinking throughout the year, oh, money's going to just show up in a big way. And like it kind of did, but not really. It was more nebulous, which Neptune is right next to that. So it was very swishy washy.
Laura, so there's something really weird going on here.
All right. We'll
And I
pause.
have to know what it is because I don't know if it's the cables. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, this the expansion and the slow steady Neptune Jupiter conjunction in that second house really helped me to really take healthy, slow and steady steps in that values and possessions house. I really started to shift my thinking around spiritual stuff and healing stuff and all the things Pisces, creative endeavors, right? Putting books out there, that kind of stuff. And then that second house also includes Mercury and the Sun and Chiron in Aries. It was quite the second house year
Yeah,
for
there's a
me.
lot in your second house.
It was
Very much.
it was quite the like slow and steady, be be mindful and shift the things that I value and I possess, and especially my time. I was very very good with setting healthy boundaries this year as far as if I could attend family events or if I couldn't. Like I was really mindful of that. And it's not that I didn't
Mm,
want to, it's just that there was some days I just knew it wasn't good for me. And
mm,
so really being mindful of my time and where I'm putting that in this and valuing that, right? That was a big value for me this year. So my
mm,
first and second house was a big shift for me this year in this Aquarius and Pisces Aries energy. And then, of
mm.
course, Uranus was in my fourth house of family and parenting. And well, I don't know if I've mentioned, but it was a little chaotic when I got pregnant.
Yeah, and like you said, it was a surprise baby. Like
Surprise
it
baby.
just came out of nowhere.
Yes. And that has also bled over into, my my business has been taking off, and that has been separating me more from my children, where my husband's taking over. So I'm not like sad or anything. They're still with a parent and it's lovely. But my husband's been taking over the parenting role for the most part. We've been switching roles. And so that's been interesting, as to see that independence side of Uranus in that fourth house. I
Mm.
appreciate that separation. And then there's been some independence as well, with my own mother, as she goes through the grieving process and healing and dealing with the loss of her mom. So
Mm.
Uranus in the fourth house has been an interesting one for me this year, with Taurus in the loyalty department. I still certainly am, very committed and attached to my family and my mother and my children. And I needed that independence so I could be weird.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
the
for
weird
sure.
stuff. So yeah, my chart really showed up this year in the way that solar return reading was. Like, it really, if this is the first time I'd ever had a solar return reading. So I was so curious to go through a whole year and really see how this happens. So for this year, it's a little different. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things in the 12th
Oh
house.
my God.
So that
Wow.
Pisces theme is going to continue. The spiritual woo-woo, the healing, all of the Pisces stuff that was in the
Mm.
second house is going to, I feel like, just get amplified
Mm.
this year.
For
So
sure.
this year it's a Taurus rising and a Cancer moon. And last year I was a Capricorn rising and a Pisces moon. So still earth and water. So I'm still
Mm.
working on that stability and structure, and then feeling my feels. I think a Cancer moon is perfect for having a baby.
I think so too. I feel like because the moon's home is in Cancer, so that is very much the like mother archetype
Yeah.
right there, that energy. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that
Right.
when I saw your moon. Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm going to be
The
a
mama
nicer
moon.
mama this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a nicer mama. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. So yeah, this year
Yeah.
Mars and the moon will both be in Cancer for me in the second house. So again, this
Mm.
theme of values, possessions, money, and stability is strong, real strong.
Yeah.
And this year it's around really focusing on mothering,
Mm.
nurturing, healing,
And your
parenting.
home.
My home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see how this shows up, because that moon is sextile to Uranus conjunct Venus. So I'll have a
Oh, look at
Uranus
that.
conjunct
Yeah.
Venus. So last year it was a Saturn conjunct Venus, which I didn't like.
Let's see
And
if you like the chaotic version a little bit
right?
more then.
I feel like this one might be a little bit more fun to play with, right? This one,
Mm.
hopefully there's random influxes of money
Mm.
and relationships and connections.
Mm.
But again, they're both in Taurus, so it's that slow and steady wins the race, right?
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you have so much going on in the 12th house.
I know, look at me.
Let's name the planets we have here. We have Neptune, the Sun, Chiron, Jupiter, Mercury. We have
My
your North
North
Node,
Node. Yep.
Venus, and Uranus, all in your 12th house. So you thought that last year was a year to work with a lot of generational trauma.
Yeah. Guess
And
what we're doing this year?
yeah, I guess that was sort of the doors opening for it, and here the flood comes.
That's exactly it. Like last year was like, get your structure and stability down, get your meditative practices, get your altar and your daily meditation set, your affirmations, like the things that I've really
Mm,
created stability with. Get that stuff down, because you're going to need it for your
yeah,
41st year. This is
yeah.
big. And this all happens literally, 10 or 12 days before I birth a new human. And this baby has already had me channeling, doing all sorts of woo woo stuff. Clearly, we had a strong spirit contract that I tried to break and was not able to. So I see this as a really big turning stone, right? Like on my path throughout life, I step on this stone and it really takes me to a different dimension, really.
Yeah, this is such an interesting chart. With all of that 12th house stuff, and both you and me are really into the 12th house
We are.
because it's the house of they used to call it the house of the undoing because it's the last house.
And it could
And
be.
yeah, I mean it's if the first house is your body and the last, which is the 12th house, is everything that is not your body, everything that you can't see, and that space between life and death. And and you have a lot of planets in Aries in the 12th house as well. And I find that's an interesting aspect to it. Yeah.
And then there's that Chiron at 15, Jupiter at 18, and Mercury at 20 degrees
Yeah.
Aries.
Yeah.
So we've got
So
our self-esteem wound
mm,
expanded by Jupiter, and then I'm going to talk about it.
and then you're going to talk loudly about it because it's an
Loudly.
Aries. So you'll be really loud this coming year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know how I don't actually see it necessarily as only talking? I've been writing my full-length book, and it really is me sharing my 25 years of massive health issues and healing and traumas and fertility issues and arthritis and stem cell transplants and mental health issues, all of it that I've healed. And the
Yeah.
book is called Burning the Lies of Healing: My Journey to Becoming a Medical Rebel. And that's such a that's such an Aries Aquarius thing to do.
It is. And you're so right about like not being loud is not just about, talking louder. It's about maybe showing yourself more. Just being that you can communicate yourself stronger.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a more brave and bold way than
Yeah.
I have before. So now this year, I just last week published my children's book, We Had a Baby at Home and Other Ways Families Welcome New Babies. So this book it's a little rebellious, but it really just shows how we do the birthing process. So it's me starting to kind of step out again into this, putting myself out there in the weirdness, right? Showing that my independence and that I don't do what society's norms are, right? And I think this year is going to be bravely doing that more.
I think so too.
And it's connected to Mr. Pluto there, which is
I know.
at 0 degrees Aquarius in my 10th house. So transformation much?
Yeah.
Very
And
curious.
so it is, and it's touching Pluto in your 10th house, and it's also touching your moon in the second house, and they're touching by squares. So I was thinking when I saw this, I thought like, okay, you're gonna be loud, you're gonna be very much like step out in a very Aries way and show people who you are. But it will be a little bit uncomfortable for your Cancer moon because you will just want to be home and nurture your little baby, and your Pluto wants to just go deep with work, and then you have this energy just going out. So it will be that pull also this year.
Yeah. And I do see, some people view the 12th house as death. And because it's that, again, like you said, the first house is the start and the body, and the 12th house can be viewed as that. And death is such a broad term. I actually view the 8th house more as the death house, but with 12th house, I think there's parts of us that we have to let go of in order
Like
to do
unsolving or something. Dissolving.
Exactly. So in order to do that healing work, a part of you has to die. And if Aries is not the ego, I don't know what is. I mean, Leo too, but This is
In
that
different
little,
ways, but yeah, wow, it
you
really
know,
is.
this is that little kid ego that kind of needs to grow up a little bit. So I, with Sun, Chiron, Jupiter, and Mercury all in Aries, intercepted in the 12th house, and it's square
Mm.
to my moon in mothering. I have a strong feeling that this little Aries bub that's beating me up right now is going to cause like an epic humility within me, right? This deep
Mm.
humility of surrender. I feel like that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know how it's going
Mm.
to show up because it's in the Pisces house, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel that birthing my fifth, having 5 children, learning how to manage 5 children, 2 of them teenagers, 1 of them a preteen, and then a toddler and a newborn. Like there's some deep humbleness that comes with that job.
Oh, wow.
Deep. There's
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of surrendering and a lot
Mm.
of letting go of expectations and a lot of like, here's who I thought I would be and here's who I actually am in the reality of life. So I think I see that Aries energy sort of dying a little bit or transforming at
Mm.
least. At least maybe a
Mm.
maturing.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, the Aries is very much the ego and the me.
Yeah.
So I guess parts of that will transform and die.
Yeah.
And because you have that Chiron and Jupiter conjunction in Aries,
Yep.
I think that there will be some strong things showing up for you about yourself and your ego that it will be hard to look at. But I was
Oh yeah.
listening to I was listening to Jessica Laniato's podcast the other day, and she said something that I love. So she was talking about this conjunction, the Chiron and Jupiter,
Yeah.
and that it will show anyone who has this conjunction, and globally, whenever this transit happens, it will show us a little bit what is, what is hard for us, or maybe what we feel like is wrong with us.
Yeah.
And she said, what is hard for you is not what is wrong with you. Yeah, that's
Mm.
what she was talking about. She was saying that
Mm.
we will really see what's hard for us in our lives, that will be shown up by Jupiter, Chiron.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is hard for you is not what is wrong with you.
You want to know something interesting? Is the last time Jupiter and
Mm,
Chiron were conjunct, I had my first
mm.
child, and they were in Aquarius, and now they're conjunct again, and I'm having my last child. Isn't that interesting? So, and raising
That's an
children,
interesting cycle.
right?
Yeah.
And raising children is really hard for me. And looking at my natal chart, here's my natal chart. I got Saturn in my 5th house in Libra. That's children. That's the house of getting pregnant, staying pregnant, having fun, and children, being with children.
Mm,
It's hard. it's that is my life mission, is to kind of learn to lighten up, learn to play, learn to have fun, and do it in relationship with children. Learn to find
yeah.
harmony.
Mm,
And I got to go through the hard work of maturing to do that. And man,
yeah.
this chart this year sure speaks to a level of letting go and surrendering into that spiritual kind of leveling up. It's almost like going from the 3D hard working to the 5D realm of expansion and spirit. And this is all stuff that was so confusing to me several years
Mm,
ago. Like I didn't know anything about this a couple, 3 to 5 years
mm.
ago. Akashic
You
records,
mean,
I
yeah.
didn't know about that. I didn't know about, talking to spirit people. Like that just wasn't in my radar. So I
It's
feel
so crazy how life changes.
it really is. It really is. So it, I'm learning it this year. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
not
yeah,
only
you will
that,
have. Mm,
but Saturn's in Pisces too. So we've got Saturn at 2 degrees Pisces, and then he's hanging out in my 11th house of community. So my community needs to be woo woo, right? Like I got to
mm,
have all of the people that are working on the healing and the feeling and want to connect in that deeper etheric way, that spiritual way, that recognizing that this earth school is here to teach us these deep feelings and these connections, right? And then Neptune is in Pisces at 25 degrees and he's in the 12th house. Well, my natal Neptune or my natal Mercury is 25 degrees Pisces. So for this year,
Oh,
I'm going to be having a Neptune Mercury conjunction
wow.
with my natal placement. So I feel like that's, man, if that's not activating the spirit people to talk to me,
Yeah, for sure. It's like a huge magnet
right?
on your
It's like
head. Yeah,
somebody
for
put
all the spirit
spirit
people.
headphones on me and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, wait a minute. And so that's very interesting placement. It's the start of my 12th house and it's opposite our asteroid friend Sirius. And Sirius is in my 6th house of health and well-being, service, day-to-day routines, and she's hanging out right at the end in Virgo. So Virgo 6th house Sirius means I better do my self-care big time.
Yeah.
Like I
Yep.
need to,
Your everyday self-care
yep,
routine.
nurturing and nourishing and making sure my bucket is filled is key to balancing this intense influx of spiritual intuitiveness. That's like the volume's
Oh,
getting turned
yeah.
on, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see that. If I don't
Yeah.
do the daily self-care and the daily meditations and the daily yogas and get away from the 5 children I created for at least 5 minutes, it's not going to be good. I'm going to get out of balance. I'm going to get out of tune and then I'll get overwhelmed. And I have this 6th, 12th house access in my natal chart and I know this energy well. When you have planets in the 6th house, do not ignore them. They require daily care. They require your attention or your health will fail in that arena. And this is an important one, I think, even though it's an asteroid not many people pull into their chart or talk about. I think it's an important one because it's how we really feel nourished and get that bucket filling, you know, enlivener feeling that we're craving. So, and that's connected to Pluto up here and my MC. So in order for my career to really keep doing this growth and creative, transformation, I better do my self-care
Yeah. Yeah.
every day.
And you have your the Pluto is conjoined your MC this year.
Yeah.
So I feel like you will be really going deep with all the work that you do, whatever it is, you will be going so deep.
And keep transforming and keep transforming. And I feel like I need a Transformer theme song.
But what's cool is that you don't have much air in this chart, and in your natal chart, you got some air,
I got some
and
air. We got
you
the
got
air
some air.
covered
Look at that.
natally. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 placements in air natally, and then this year you have just two,
I
two
have,
tiny whiny.
yeah, and one of them's a little asteroid we've been learning about, which is Hygeia.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
been playing around with her a little bit too. I've been incorporating her and she's
God of hygiene or goddess of hygiene.
and again, like
Yeah.
a self-care kind of thing, right? Making sure you're
Mm,
nourishing your body well, making sure you're eating well, sleeping well. Like she's really about taking care of yourself. And she's in the
yeah.
10th house too. So the yeah, not much in air this year at all. Lots of earth.
No. Lots of earth. And I was gonna say that because you
My
have
brain's like, I
your
don't really like that.
no, I was gonna ask you, how do you feel about that Taurus ascendant?
The crabby guy just spoke up. He's like, I don't really like that.
Yeah, I guess that's why it's there. You have so much earth this year and a lot of water as well, which is it's just such an opposite to your otherwise airy and
Airy
fiery
charts.
chart.
Yeah.
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 So now you'll be
I'm
going slow and flowing around
There's
real
a
slow.
part of me that's like, well, I'm glad it's only a year.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is just the outfit I'll be wearing for this. This is my uniform for the year, right? Like, and in reality, Philip and I are really pouring ourselves into rebranding and redeveloping our homestead and our land and really making it more of a community space, a community oriented space. So I actually see that that's probably where a lot of the earth is going to be focused on, is creating,
Mm.
again, structure with our businesses, structure with our family as we bring in a new human. And
Mm.
I'm going to need that emotional, physical structure, because
I
otherwise I'm
think
going to
so.
lose my shit.
I think so. I feel like by looking at this chart, you can feel and sort of imagine, like really vividly imagine your coming year.
Yeah. Yeah. I really look forward to the moon in Cancer. I really do. I feel
Yeah.
like, and my kids said this, they were quite older when I had Saffron. They were 7, 9, and 11. And so
Mm.
they had known me as a certain mom, most of their life, and quite a bit of their life we've struggled a lot. And I'm very open with the parenting struggles I had with them and the mental health struggles. And I am so grateful for them being able to experience me as a new mom with Saffron, because I
Mm.
do get very, very lovey. I get very kissy and very like it's a different me with my baby versus
Yeah.
as they grow up. And I did transfer a lot of that really lovey emotional energy towards them, and they all commented on it. They're like, "You're so
Mm.
different. You're so different." And I was like,
Mm.
"Well, good, because babies are supposed to change you. Like, it's
Yeah.
important. It's
Yeah.
important that
And
I'm
so you
different."
think that you will become even more sort
I
of
think so.
soft
I think
after
so.
this one? Yeah.
And we have another asteroid up here. We have Pallas Athena is up here, and Pallas is the goddess of wisdom. She's really where we get this. We take the knowledge we've experienced and learned, and we can apply it and be wise about things. And man,
Mm.
that's right next to my moon
Yeah.
in Cancer. Like, I'm getting wise about
Wow.
children and parenting.
Yeah.
Thank
I
God
feel
I
like
am.
those two together in the sign of Cancer, you think of almost the crone,
Yeah.
like the old wise woman, like
Yeah.
that person who's just soft and doesn't say much because they know everything.
Right. You
They
know when to
just
shut
sit
your
there
mouth.
knowing everything. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
when to speak, you know when to back
Mm.
off and go, okay, honey, you figure that out on your own, right? Like, you
Yeah.
just, it's
That
the
energy.
wisdom of that ancient maternal energy. I definitely
Mm.
feel that. There is something that comes along with having your fifth versus having your first, right? Or your second. Like, I've got
Yeah.
some wisdom under my belt and some years. It's not like I had them all in a row, bing, bang, boom. I had some
Mm.
space, and I've been able to mature into this mothering realm, this nurturing realm,
Mm.
learning to nurture myself
Mm.
and learning that that's not selfish.
Mm.
It's self-care, right? That if
Yeah.
I don't nurture myself, I'm never going to be a good mom. And that's the wisdom that comes with knowing I'm not going to do it all. My house is not going to look perfect, and I don't really care. It's lived in,
Mm.
right? I don't get uptight about that stuff anymore. Whereas
Mm.
as a new mom, oh man, like if people were coming over and the house wasn't clean or what, right? You know what I mean? Like that change in perspective. So, I'm excited with this conjunction, this moon and Pallas conjunction. And Pallas is in the third house of communication and writing.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting placement. I'm like, ooh, what am I going to write about this
What am I
year?
gonna write? And I just thought about something, and uh, have you ever thought about like becoming a doula or something, like working with
Oh, you're so
helping
funny.
other women
Yeah, I was a midwife
go
student
through this?
for 2.5 years. I
Oh,
actually,
really?
yeah, I attended probably like 48 births. Yeah. So
Whoa.
yeah, I've been there, done that. Um,
Okay, you're done. You feel like you're done for now, or
It's a really tough gig when you have
mm,
kids and you
mm,
don't, because you get up at all hours of the night and you have to drive. It's a lot of driving because it's mostly home births, and it's a lot of driving. It's a lot of not having any kind of solidity of a schedule, right?
mm,
You can't obviously plan births and stuff. But I
mm,
did it for 2.5 years. I loved it. It was so empowering to be in that space watching a woman transform from not a mother into a mother, or adding a new family member to
mm,
her brood. And it was lovely, and I'm so grateful I experienced it. if it comes back into my world, it's definitely going to be in my 50s or after. It's not right now, though.
Yeah. Or what about maybe, building up material, or like having courses, or just spreading information and knowledge about this, not having to be the person on the scene and, waking up in the middle of the night, but, maybe have a course, or like teach women. Because all of this 12th house stuff as well, I just feel like it's also very much birth
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, and it's healing that generational trauma, and that the book I just put out really had I had 2 pages at the back that has birth statistics and birth facts, and where we've come and where we've gone, and home birth versus hospital birth and medications and all of that. So I feel like maybe putting that book out last week is maybe again opening the door
Yeah.
to creating something bigger in that realm. Maybe I do create
Mm.
a course based off of that book, right?
Mm.
I guess I hadn't thought about that, but it makes sense.
Mm.
So I love that. That's actually a really great idea. I wouldn't have thought about that.
Mm.
Look at you.
I like that for you.
I
Yeah.
like that too. I really do too. So I'm excited to see how this energy shows up for me this year, but knowing that Uranus is 1 degree away from Venus tells me that there's going to be some relationship shakeups for sure
Mm.
as I do the healing and the feeling and the deep Pisces work, right? As I go
Yeah.
into that woo-woo space, it's going to automatically remove some people from my life, which I'm so
Mm.
thankful of, right? The universe kind of does it on its own. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to bring suddenly an influx of new relationships that are more in alignment, and that hopefully will manifest in more stable finances and in that Taurus energy of stability. I'm
Mm.
hoping. It's got to be better than conjunct Saturn, right? Like it's got to
It
be.
will be. It will be.
That was quite the year for me. Not only in my solar return was Saturn
Mm.
conjunct Venus exactly, but Saturn was also on my 10th house transiting my natal chart. So I had this really intense like grow up, Laura. And I'm like, okay, okay, okay. Okay, right? Check your checking account every day.
Yeah.
And I did a course on prosperity energy healing, and now I'm
Mm.
certified to help others through this hypnosis program do prosperity energy healing to release hooks of scarcity and shame and guilt, and like that's something I'm certified to do, and I'm stepping into advertising that more and helping people really let go of these
Mm.
core scarcity issues they have with
Mm.
attracting money. So that makes sense that I would probably put that out there a little bit more this year too.
Yeah. You learned so much this year. Just this podcast, all the technical stuff that we've gone through, not knowing anything
Right?
about it.
Nothing. We knew nothing about what we were
No.
doing.
And then look
We knew how to do
look
Zoom.
now.
And then we were
Yeah,
like,
that we
"Hey,
knew.
we should
Barely.
figure out how to record this and put this into the
Yeah.
ethers." And we were like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah. No, you done amazingly with learning technical stuff, and just facing it head on, going through it. It was hard,
Yeah.
but you did it.
But that's where I really have come this year to really love and appreciate Saturn's energy. I
Mm.
really have. Like, yeah, he's kind of a pain in the butt as like he's standing over you while you're taking your test and he's making sure
Yeah.
you're doing it,
So
right?
annoying.
But at the same time, like he makes sure you do the shit you need to do. Like
He
he's
knows
just
what's good for you.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he knows how to create this discipline that I've really been craving this type of discipline most of my life, but it wasn't the right time. And now
Mm.
this year it was. Everything lined up and it was go time, Laura, time to mature. And I was
Yeah.
all right, thanks.
Yeah.
And I was ready for it. I kind of feel bad when people have these transits when they're like 14, right? Because then you
But
have to
that
grow
was
up,
their time.
right? Then you have to grow
Yeah.
up in a way that is maybe a little how you might feel a little too soon for you, right?
Mm.
But for me, it happened this past year and I appreciate it and I'm thankful for it. And
Mm.
I'm ready to put that 11th house Saturn energy to work this year with creating community and structure and building this like-minded community in a mature way. So we'll see how this shows up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So cool to dive into your solar return.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see how this plays out and experience this. So for my birthday, I'm going to just chillax and do nothing for the first half of the day, and then we're going to dinner at night. So that should be good times. I think my parents are coming along to pay for it, so that's nice.
That's amazing. Yeah, always appreciated.
Uh-huh.
Happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you so much for exploring this with me. This was fun.
Yeah.
This was fun. And thanks for listening, everybody. And if you are interested in a reading with Helena and I, we have that option. You can certainly hook up with us and do that. And if you would like to dive into your solar return, if you have a birthday coming up, we would be happy to help you understand the flavor of your year and what you will be experiencing this year. And yeah, reach out to us, RamGoatAstrology@gmail.com, or you can comment on this. So we're happy to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.